All right, let's get started here. I want to thank everyone for being here this afternoon. Thanks you, the media, for showing this, and our strong advocates for what we're about to talk about. I have a lot of thanks to give, so I want to start off with thanking the City Council and particularly Councilmember Alexis Rink, who you will hear from in a minute. I'm just the opening act, by the way. I want to thank you for your partnership and your vision, and to the coalition partners that both you've been working with and the communities that are here today who represent small business, labor, our labor partners, and human service leaders. So I'm announcing a new proposal to support small businesses and raise progressive revenue to respond to Trump's threats and the ideological bullying that we see. We want to protect essential human services. We want to continue our housing investments and our housing strategy. We want effective city programs. We spent an inordinate amount of energy and resources and commitment to stabilize our city coming out of the pandemic. And we're at a point now where we are aggressively fighting for the values that we all believe in every single day. Now, Councilmember Rinck will call it the Seattle Shield Initiative. I'm just going to roll off my tongue pretty quickly when I keep saying the Seattle City Initiative. We also will sometimes refer it as the 90-90 plan. Now, why would I say that? Because this is an effort to reduce taxes on 90% of businesses and raise $90 million for our city. Now, those who represent small businesses like Ollie Garrett, who you will hear from in a minute, we recognize that small businesses are the lifeblood of our communities. They create jobs, they make our neighborhoods special, and many of them face significant challenges. They often hire people that may not get hired at some of the other companies. They're sort of, again, as I refer to as our when we say our lifeblood, just keeping everything going in the right direction in our communities. B&O tax relief is something we've heard directly from small and medium business leaders that it will truly make a difference in how they do business for them and their employees. Now, we have a lot of work to continue to do to support small businesses. We recognize that, from public safety issues as we hire more officers in unprecedented numbers, to building out our care department that you know are doing just incredible work, to streamlining the permitting process that you've heard from very recently in some of our efforts, providing technical support to our businesses, all of the things we're doing to make sure that we support our small businesses. We will also soon advance additional recommendations small businesses have shared with us, like an expanded back to business effort to assist small businesses that have been victims of crime. So let me briefly talk about the mechanics of the proposal, because this is good policy. And I want to thank my deputy mayors and my executive team and the council, and again, the council member, for just being forward thinking in this approach. Our proposal will raise the B&O tax threshold from $100,000 in gross receipts to $2 million, exempting about 16,500 small and medium-sized businesses from the city's B&O tax. This plan would create a new B&O tax deduction of $2 million, allowing all businesses that pay the B&O tax to only pay on gross receipts of about $2 million. Now, with this in place, 90% of the current taxpayers would pay less in 2026 than they do today, or not pay at all. In order to pay for the raised exemption and new deductions and to raise $90 million to protect essential services, this proposal will increase the B&O rate. In 2026, the rate would change from 22 cents per $100 of taxable research to 34 cents per $100 of taxable receipts. This is for retail, wholesale, and manufacturing companies. It changes from 43 cents per $100 to 65 cents per $100 for service companies. So, you know, and I think it's important to put it in the context of the rate is changing by cents, C-E-N-T-S, cents on each $100 a business makes. Now, we recognize that there are a diversity of businesses in Seattle, and many of them will be affected differently and may feel differently, and this is why we will continue to work under a direction from our office on evaluating Seattle's business climate. we try to send the signal to all businesses that we are open for business. Why? Because we want to employ people. We want jobs. You look at everything we do, we try to support job creation. And a review of our tax system, our fees, our regulation, our permitting, and we will look at this. We will evaluate Seattle's business climate in the context of other business climates in neighboring jurisdictions and indeed in the state. So altogether, this proposal will raise, as I said earlier, about $90 million, putting Seattle in the best position to prepare for Trump's continued economic chaos and threats to allow the city to provide essential services and maintain critical housing investments for our residents. We hear about the price of housing in every conversation that we have. Quite candidly, I've lost track of the times Trump has issued a letter or a tweet or an executive order threatening our federal funding. I did an interview this morning on this issue, going over on a granular level the amount of funding that is at stake and, quite frankly, the legal remedies that we've had to pursue through the court system to protect who and what we are. Now, Trump's claims that he's threatening our federal funding because cities don't want to keep people safe just doesn't make sense, when some of the funds that he threatens to cut will address such things as counterterrorism tools or training and task forces designed to investigate crimes against children and services for survivors of sexual assault. We don't understand in what universe cutting these investments would promote public safety. It just doesn't make sense, and it is bad policy. I will not mince words there. So this proposal makes it a priority to protect investments in critical human services like housing, vouchers, and shelter, and food and nutrition access services for survivors of gender-based violence, and more. We can't let these critical, crucial services lapse because Trump withholds federal funds or because his tariffs and economic chaos drive revenues down. So we believe this is a balanced approach to take on Trump, support small businesses, and put Seattle in the best position to protect everyone, to support our residents. Okay, so that is my opening statement. I'm going to stick by it, Councilmember. And again, as I introduce you, Councilmember Rinck, I want to say again, you've been a thoughtful partner in this effort, a real leader in standing up for Seattle's values in your first year as a council member. You outshined me when I was in my first year. So congratulations and thanks for putting together such a coalition, and we're very proud to stand with you. And I think I have another council member here. I want to recognize Councilmember Soika for being here. You're just eye candy today, so just okay. But again, thank all of you, and Councilmember Rinck, the show is all yours.
Thank you for that kind introduction, Mayor Harrell, and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. We have a lot to be excited about this afternoon. And my name is Alexis Rink, and I am proud to stand here behind a very powerful coalition, a coalition you see up here. But I also want to invite, I know we have more folks in our coalition that are around the room. Can I invite you all to come up? I want folks to see how powerful we are together. I know we've had some more folks join us, so I want to invite folks up. Right. This is a powerful coalition from our labor champions, from our small business advocates, from our essential service providers who are taking care of our community at this time. And I'm proud to stand alongside Mayor Harrell to announce the Seattle Shield Initiative, legislation that will give Seattle voters the power to define what kind of city we want to be. And today we are facing a defining moment for Seattle. While federal cuts threaten the services our working families and most vulnerable neighbors depend on, we have a choice. We can either stand by and watch essential programs disappear, or we can give Seattle voters the power to protect what matters most. The Seattle Shield Initiative exists because we have found common ground. Everyone here today can agree that Seattle's success should lift everyone up, not just those at the top. When I was waiting tables in Queen Anne, barely scraping by, unfortunately, the small business owners I was working for, they were struggling too. They weren't getting rich, they were just trying to survive and keep the doors open, just like their employees. So when elected officials talk about supporting small business, this is what real support looks like. Seattle Shield will cut taxes for 76% of businesses currently paying B&O tax. These are the coffee shops where they get your oat milk latte just right. These are the family-owned restaurants that know you want 3 stars on your pad thai. These are the libraries that have the cute little staff recommendations on what you should read next. These are the bike shops that know exactly what's always seems to be wrong with your bike brakes. Here's what I want people to understand. The programs we're protecting with this initiative, they work and they change lives, and we need them now. The $90 million generated annually will protect services that keep families fed, housed, and safe. As the Trump regime cuts federal funding for food banks, emergency shelter, and housing programs, local investment becomes the difference between maintaining these lifelines and watching them disappear. And Seattle Shield represents both the city's response to a local budget crisis and federal abandonment of working families. And for example, as federal workplace protections are rolled back, the Seattle's Office of Labor Standards becomes more critical than ever. And this initiative ensures we can continue fighting wage theft and protecting collective bargaining rights and maintaining the labor standards that make Seattle a place where work pays. And we're not asking everyday taxpayers to unfairly shoulder this burden. We're asking the largest corporations to pay their fair share while actually reducing taxes for small and medium businesses. And we're asking them to contribute to the community that made their success possible. For the infrastructure they use, to the workforce whose labor they rely on, and the working class consumer base who buy their products. This isn't punishment for individual success, it's shared community responsibility that comes with shared success. And here's what makes this moment special. We're not imposing this on Seattle, we're trusting Seattle. We're asking our neighbors, you decide. You decide whether Seattle steps up when others step back. You choose whether we protect each other or abandon each other, and you choose what kind of city we want to be. And I've seen Seattle voters do this time and time again when we have the clear choice between our values and our fears. And time again, this city chooses hope. Time and time again, this city chooses each other. So I'm asking my colleagues on Seattle City Council, put this to the ballot. Trust our neighbors will make the right choice. The stakes are too high, the choice is too important to let this moment pass without action. And I'm asking Seattle voters to remember who we are. We're the city that led the nation to a $15 minimum wage. Ooh, that's right. We're the city that passed paid sick leave, that invests in affordable housing, that said every worker deserves dignity. We're a city that doesn't abandon people when times get tough. That's the Seattle I'm fighting for, and that's the Seattle I know we can build together. So let's shield affordable housing. So let's shield workers' rights. So let's shield services serving survivors of gender-based violence. Let's shield our let's shield our food access. So let's shield Seattle together. Thank you.
We're fired up now. Good. We're going to see with our friends in the media here whether they're going to call this the Seattle Shield Law or the 90-90 Plan. Seattle Shield Initiative or the 90-90 Plan. Next, we're going to hear from Ollie Garrett, the president and CEO of Tabor 100, which is an organization, a consortium, if you will, supporting women-owned and minority-owned businesses. They've just been doing outstanding work. Strategic planning, human resource issues, access to funding. She's been a leader in this space. Ollie Garrett, please share some words with us.
Thank you. On behalf of Tabor 100 and the more than 500 businesses we support, I want to thank you, Mayor Harrell and Councilman Alexis Rink, for their leadership on putting forward this bold proposal. Small businesses are the backbone of Seattle economy and vital to building generational wealth in our community, especially for Black-owned businesses and other entrepreneurs of color. Tabor 100 served that community by raising the B&O exemption threshold to $2 million and providing tax relief for approximately 90% of businesses currently paying the taxes. This proposal is a meaningful step toward creating more equity and competitive environment for small and medium-sized businesses to grow and thrive. Importantly, this reduction will also encourage new businesses to be created, providing more opportunities and economic mobility for residents across Seattle. At the same time, this approach responsibly protects critical investments in housing, human services, and economic stability at a time when threats to federal funding and economic uncertainty continue to impact our city. Tabor 100 applauds the mayor for recognizing that a thriving small business community and strong city services go hand in hand. We look forward to working with city leaders to ensure this proposal delivers real relief, foster new businesses, creations, and expand opportunities for all Seattle small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Ollie. Thank you, Ollie. And I want to recognize Representative Breonna Thomas here today, standing with us. I don't know what capacity you're standing in today, but I'm going to recognize you either way. Our next speaker, I can't say enough about. Just here, let me. I can't say enough about it because I don't have my notes. I'm just joking, Marcia. Marcia Wright-Soika is the Executive Director of FamilyWorks. We had, I think, a delightful meeting yesterday as well, and she's been in the space of food insecurity, supporting families in need, and I don't think you could find a more capable and passionate advocate for people that are experiencing food insecurity and need our help. So it's our honor to have Marcia Wright-Soika say a few words, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you so much to Councilmember Rinck and Mayor Harrell for inviting me to speak on behalf of FamilyWorks and the many human service organizations across our city who work every day to ensure that Seattle is a place where everyone can thrive. At FamilyWorks, which focuses on hunger relief and family support, we meet people at some of their most sensitive moments in their lives. When putting food on the table, keeping a roof overhead, or parenting without a support system is really, really challenging. One of the moms in our programs, Stacy, told us raising kids is hard and expensive. It's hard to parent when you're stressed out and you don't know whether you're going to buy diapers or food. And she's right. Most of us are one emergency, one medical bill or missed paycheck away from crisis. Seattle Shield is an important step in protecting the social safety net that so many Seattle families rely on, especially now as deep federal cuts threaten programs that were already stretched thin by rising need in our community. And it's a step we need. We need it to ensure that moms like Stacy can still turn to local organizations to meet their most basic needs. Without this kind of protective local investment, people will be pushed into crisis. There are 200,000 of our neighbors who are currently relying on food assistance and SNAP at a time when Congress is considering halving the program. Food banks will not have enough food to meet rising demand because of harmful federal actions. Shelters that are already full will struggle to stay open. And while nearly a quarter of Seattle residents are burdened by rent, waitlists for affordable housing will grow. More of our neighbors will be forced into impossible choices between medical bills, food, and rent. So this proposal isn't just about preventing harm. It's also about creating good. And you've heard from some of our small business leaders, and you'll hear from them later today. It will help workers and businesses, ensuring our neighborhoods remain rooted and resilient. So now is not the time to throw up our hands and say that there's nothing that we can do in response to federal actions. There is something we can do, and that's choosing to invest in each other. We need Seattle to be a place where kids go to school with full stomachs. where seniors do not have to choose between their medicine and electric bills, and where all of us can count on having our basic needs met. And as our client Stacy at FamilyWorks shared, we need kids to feel safe and secure and not be hungry or worry about the things that should be basic needs. Because she's able to get support at places like FamilyWorks when she needs it most, she can now focus on what every parent wants, which is for her kids to thrive. So this initiative is a really vital step toward protecting the services that allow people to survive today and imagine something better for tomorrow. So thank you so much to Councilmember Rinck and Mayor Harrell for meeting this moment with clarity and urgency and care. I'm really grateful for your leadership on behalf of Human Services. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. Thank you, Marcia. So our next speaker, just by a show of hands, how many has ever tried tofu? Just tried it. All right, we're tofu. The best tofu, I may get in trouble and say this, the best tofu I've had comes from Tanya, Nguyen at ChuMinh Tofu. I visited there several weeks ago, and I have to tell you, it is just outstanding. But in all seriousness, we want to hear from Tanya. I believe that actually Tanya bought some tofu here, so you don't have to take my word for it. But Tanya sort of epitomizes what we're trying to do and the types of businesses we're trying to support, and she has an excellent product and is a delightful person. So Tanya, will you please share a few words with us? Where's the tofu, by the way?
Outside.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Councilmember Rinck, Mayor Harrell, and everyone here today. My name is Tanya Nguyen. I'm the owner of ChuMinh Tofu and the Vegan Deli in Chinatown, Seattle, Chinatown International District, near the 12 and Jackson. So I'm here today to speak on behalf of small business owners, especially neighborhood like the CID, who are facing enormous pressure just to stay open. We've been hit all sides, like the price of the food increases, rent increases, the high bill, utility bill pay, and the labor costs that keep climbing. So even so, we commit to treat our employees and pay fair with the respect, but it's getting harder and harder each month. Try to break even, let alone the save and grow. So that make it more difficult with the tax, like business and occupation tax. Right now, we are taxed based on the gross revenue, not profits. So that means even we barely make it even, make it expense like to covering the expenses, or we might even lose money, but we still owe taxes. So for the small restaurant like me, like mine, I feel like a burden on our shoulders. Yeah. On top of that, the CID facing the unique challenges like graffiti, vandalism, and public safety concern. Also, the food traffic reducing, and gentrification and displacement. So that's very hard, but we try to do everything we can, donating food to our unhoused people, our neighbor, and we're taking care of our elders, and preserve our culture, and serving our community. So that is why I strongly support this proposal to raise the B&O tax threshold from $100,000 to $2 million in revenue, the gross revenue. If this passes, we can reinvest in our employees, expand our services, or just maybe we can take a break, yes, and do something better. Yeah. Seattle will not be strong without strong small businesses. Yes, so because the small businesses are the soul of our neighborhood. And with your support, we'll continue to nourish the city, our city, not only with food, but with our care, the compassion, community, and love. And thank you so much for your time and inviting us here. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. And I just want to make it very clear, she is on 12th and Jackson. And we visited her and had the best tofu around, and she is what this is all about. And so thank you very, very much. Our next speaker is Adam Glickman of SEIU 775, and many of you know Adam has just been a labor leader and with the members of SEIU 775. They see firsthand the challenges that working families are facing. So we thought it very appropriate we'd bring one of the most effective labor leaders here to share a few words with us. Adam Glickman, please.
Thank you, Mayor Harrell. I'm Adam Glickman, Secretary-Treasurer at SEIU 775. We represent about 55,000 long-term care workers across Washington State, including thousands in Seattle. Our members, caregivers, provide essential care and support to many of the most vulnerable people in our city. They help seniors and people with disabilities live in their homes. They help provide round-the-clock care in our nursing homes. They bathe and feed and dress and comfort our elders, our disabled children and family members. Yet caregivers struggle to live in this city. They struggle to find affordable housing. They struggle to find affordable food and transportation. Caregivers, too often, caregivers rely on public services. They rely on affordable housing subsidies. They rely on food stamps and food banks. They rely on subsidized childcare and public transit. They rely on public agencies to protect them against wage theft and discrimination. And right now, all of those services, funding for all of those services is at risk, right? It's all at risk because of the economic chaos of the Trump administration and the devastating cuts they are proposing. So we appreciate working families across the city, and I'll just note there are a number of other labor leaders here today from MLK Labor, from ProTech, from IBEW, from our key partners at Working Washington and Casa Latina, and I'm sure I missed folks. But we all appreciate Mayor Harrell and Councilmember Rinck coming forward with this bold, progressive proposal to raise the revenue needed to protect services. The revenue from this proposal is critical to maintaining the investments that our members and working families across the city rely on. Investments in affordable housing, investments in food security, investments in protecting workers against wage theft. I also want to note that we appreciate, and I think the broader labor movement appreciates, the fact that this proposal actually reduces taxes for thousands of small businesses around our city. I think I've heard the number 90% once or twice. A year ago, there were proposals at the city council to reduce the minimum wage. And our union and the labor movement broadly stood up and strongly opposed those changes to the minimum wage. At the same time, we also recognized and said that, we recognized the struggles facing small businesses. And we asked the mayor to both stand up and protect workers and protect the minimum wage and to find other ways to support struggling small businesses. And I know talking for our union, we really appreciate that the mayor listened to that the mayor stood up and protected the minimum wage, and that the mayor is now, along with Councilmember Rinck, really bringing forward a bold proposal to support and help struggling small businesses while also supporting their workers and the community. So just want to thank the mayor and Councilmember Rinck for bringing this proposal forward, and want to encourage the council to take action quickly and send it to the voters. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Adam. Thank you very much, Adam. Our last speaker is Eric Chan, who is the owner of Jade Garden Restaurant in the Chinatown International District. And Jade Garden is a multi-generational family restaurant and one of the small businesses that make the CID a gem of our city. Point of personal privilege, he did mention that, and just met him today, that he played basketball with my son. And I said, I thought you looked familiar. So we're really happy that Eric could share a few words with. Eric, please. Yeah.
First and foremost, thank you, Councilmember Rinck and Mayor Harrell here for having me here. A little bit of background history about me and my family. We own Jade Garden Restaurant in Chinatown ID. I'm sure some of you guys have been there. A lot of familiar faces in the room. I see a lot of familiar faces in the room. Thank you so much. Over the years, thank you. I think Tanya hit it out of the ballpark here with what she said about small businesses in the CID. Something I can touch more about is the employees of our restaurant. They mean everything for us. I like to always say, like, our restaurant is more like a Noah's Ark. We're always sailing the seas. There's hard times, there's good times, and there's times where it's calm and it's smooth sailing. Any kind of relief that we can get goes back into our employees, and they're the backbone of our, restaurant. There's only so much I can do. My father, my aunt, my uncle, my mom, my sister, my wife, they all work there, but there's so much they can do as well. So our employees mean everything to us. So with the small tax breaks, anything helps us a lot. To give you an example, every day to day, I'm working today actually. I see someone came earlier, they saw me working. Took a few moments to come out here. Thank you so much, Mayor Harrell. But yeah, like you said, we work a lot, and anything to help us out with breaks is wonderful. So we'd like to get this passed quickly, and hopefully everyone understands that small businesses, we thrive down here, the city thrives. So let's do it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Eric. So you've heard from labor advocates, small business advocates, people fighting against hunger. You've heard from the community, and you've heard from an outstanding council member pushing this initiative known as the Seattle Safety, what's it called? Seattle Shield Initiative? Let's go with the 90-90 plan.
We'll talk about it.
But in all seriousness, I always tell aspiring politicians or elected leaders or community-based leaders that in this fight, it's a journey. And you have to laugh along the way to keep your energy going and never lose sight of the people we're fighting for. So thank you for standing with us together, building our One Seattle effort. And with that, Jamie, can I ask you to come up here? We'll take a few questions. There might be some questions, and I'll ask our Director of Communications to help me navigate the questions.
Yep, we'll go to Chris and then Erica.
Mayor, the Downtown Seattle Association has been an ally of yours for several years now. They've already released a statement about this proposal, using their words, not mine. They call this a tax on downtown revitalization, a self-inflicted wound for the city, and a boneheaded idea. How do you respond to the claim that this is a boneheaded idea and that you're going to see more large employers move to the Senate?
Yeah. So we think it's good policy, and we think we would just disagree. But as I've said repeatedly in 16 years of office, that one reason why I want a healthy business environment for large business and small business and everything in between is because they employ people. But they have a corporate social responsibility value that I have to see as an elected leader. We're not trying to run businesses out of Seattle. We are open for businesses. And so we look at dealing with a $250 million deficit. We don't want people to be hungry. We want people to be sheltered, that this is good policy. The fact is that the state legislature only gives us so many tools. That is just a fact. And this is a tool, we think, along the lines of progressive revenue, that is the smart policy to adopt. Now, what we will do, as I said in my remarks, is that we will continue to look at, through a directive, what the business climate is in terms of how much taxes one pays, what the lease amounts are. And I want to, again, thank the council today for, I think, approving one of the beneficial items of technology that the DSA will use in the revenue-producing Wayfinder objects. I can't remember the name of it, right? The kiosk. Ike is the name of the vendor, I believe. So we'll do everything possible to continue to have a healthy business environment, but we stand behind this policy and we think it's good policy. And again, Councilmember, if you want to chime in at all, feel free to.
Erica?
Very short question and then a substantive question. Is it 76% or is it 90%?
You can take that. 76% will be covered under the exemption, so $2 million or less in gross revenue, or gross receipts. So they will pay no B&O. 90% of businesses, which includes that 76%, 90% of businesses, should this proposal pass, will pay fewer taxes in 2026 than they pay right now.
Got it. Okay, and then the substantive question is, as Tanya was alluding, a lot of businesses have low margins, including some that might have higher gross revenues, like grocery stores, like larger restaurants. Are you concerned about the potential impact of those businesses and the fact that they potentially pass those costs on to consumers?
Yes, we are concerned about that, and that's why in my remarks I said that businesses will respond differently depending on margins, depending on the model of the business. And so one of the directives I tried to state in my remarks is that we'll take a good look at all across the sectors. We do realize, again, not all margins are created equal in business opportunities. This is a tax on gross revenues, as Tanya so eloquently put it. So we are concerned about that, and we'll continue to look at that.
Do you know how many businesses are not going to be served from this tax increase? The number?
You want me to take that?
Yeah, please.
So,
Just stand. Can you hear him? Okay.
yeah, so I'll talk through it in the percents. The 76% there are currently about 21,000 businesses that pay the B&O in the city of Seattle. About 16,500 will be exempted if the threshold is moved up to 2 million. That leaves about 5,000 businesses. Of that, about 55% will pay lower taxes than they do now, leaving 44 or 45%, about 2,000, 2,300 businesses that will have a higher B&O obligation.
And can you talk about the character of those businesses? Are they grocery stores? Are they Amazon? Who are we talking?
It's a really wide diversity of businesses. I mean, it's difficult to pigeonhole one particular kind of business. It really ranges. So I wouldn't be able to speak to that. I could say more broadly that there's really, based on the privacy laws that we have in the state and in the city, we're unable to look at each exact business, what their gross revenues are and what they pay in B&O. So it's hard to speak to that. That's why I think it's been important, and the council member and the mayor have been doing this and working with small businesses and with larger employers, talking to them to understand what this impact will be. And for many of them, they have to run those numbers themselves to understand how large an impact this may be.
Okay.
Amy, yeah.
So you're pitching this as a shield from threats from the Trump administration. Another threat from the Trump administration is cuts to healthcare, including Medicaid and also people who are eligible for Obamacare. District 2 candidate Eddie Lynn has suggested that we raise the Jumpstart tax rate in order to help pay for some of that health care that our residents might be losing if these cuts go through. Is that something that you considered, Mayor Harrell, or do you have other plans in mind to deal with those health care costs?
So you may recall that I commissioned a progressive revenue task force, and we looked at in that particular recommendation 9 possible methods by which we could achieve progressive revenue, and that was one of them. And so we are not nearly at the point where we're proposing our budget. We're announcing this today. We still have a $250 million issue we're addressing, so we're not excluding anything or including anything. So I'm not in a position to talk about this, but quite honestly, this is the kind of collaboration that works in city government. You have ideas, you don't rule out anything prematurely. You look at the impacts on businesses, you look at the impacts on people that are struggling to live in Seattle, struggling for shelter, and then you come up with a proposal. So today I'm not in a position to introduce anything else, but I will tell you that as I have a few deputy mayors in here, that literally every day we're looking at revenue options and expense reduction options as well.
Okay, David?
Will the budget that you release include this as part of it? Will it assume that this B&O tax restructure is part of the budget?
Yes. Yes, it will do.
And then if I could, well, this is a little broader, but I wanted to ask you about the New York City primary last night. I'm curious. I'm curious if you have thoughts on the results there, and if you think that has any implications for the environment in Seattle.
Well, because we're at City Hall and I'm in my official capacity, for those that aren't following it, politically, I don't like comparing Seattle to New York in any stretch. You did have a person that did so well that had to resign from his position because of a scandal. So I don't want to comment on, what happened there. But I do believe that a lesson that I learned in politics is you have to listen to what the people want. You have to talk to people in coffee shops, at ballparks, at restaurants, on the streets. And not only listen to them, you have to put in action ideas to meet their needs. And I've been doing that for 16 years, like many of these folks. We didn't just wake up and start doing this work. Before people became electeds or even advocates, they were doing this work. And then when I look at New York politics as an example, I think people want to see a certain level of integrity and commitment that goes beyond a simple speech. That's my takeaway from any political race. And collaboration. I never punch down on anybody. I think I've been doing that for 16 years. I have my hand out for folks because we need help. So the takeaway for me is that a city, to be optimized, you have to be collaborative and you have to know when to ask for help and when to implement smart policy as we're doing today. And that's why I'm very proud to stand with 2 council members advancing this idea.
Go here.
Some of the city's largest employers, Amazon for lack of a better example, have been laying off people by the thousands. Do you worry about the impact on the job market with this?
Yes, I always worry about that. What I've said, I tried to say in my remarks is that I want Seattle to be known for having a healthy business climate. Tax policy is part of that, but so is our comp plan. So is our education policy. This week I announced our education FEP levy. Every child needs to succeed. Every child gets a great start. All of these policies that we're pushing as a means to achieve an optimal city in every way, and that includes a healthy environment for big businesses. That's why I said that we will continue to look at this in terms of making sure this is a great place to do business in. I don't know if I said it in this particular speech, but Seattle continues to attract talent. We're the 4th fastest growing city in the country. It's because people still want to come live here, work here, and indeed play here. So yeah, we're always concerned about that, and we calibrated that into our package.
Mayor, King 5 reporter Alex McClin, I'm new to the city.
Hi, Alex.
Can you talk about the public outreach effort?
So, Councilmember, I'll let you take a stab at it. I'll just say a few words that, number one, this continues. This doesn't stop. I mean, part of the process when it hits the council is that we continue to do outreach. We've been addressing this budget issue for quite some time. We did just start last week. So we've been looking at all kinds of solutions, all kinds of outreach, and you could always do more. But maybe, Councilmember, you could talk a little bit about the outreach.
Yeah, certainly. As was stated, the budget challenges are not a new issue, and certainly my office, as soon as we took office just a couple months ago, if you can believe it, we hit the ground running, really evaluating what are options before us that could really address this challenge. And so doing deep engagement with some of our service providers, many of whom are here today, doing engagement across the city, understanding also through the work that we're doing with the Select Committee on Federal Administration and Policy Change, evaluating where are we hardest hit and trying to shape a proposal that reflects areas where we are hardest hit at this time, but engaging with many of the folks in this room and across the city. This proposal has been refined in light of that feedback, where we can really hone in on areas that are being the hardest hit, and making sure we're also putting forward a meaningful proposal that addresses the needs of small businesses at this time.
Thank
Okay, I think we've got time for one more question. I know I'm trying to get everybody, so Joshua, I don't know, did you have anything?
My question was answered, it was Eric's question.
Okay. Then Erica, you get one last one.
Okay, second by Gavel. I wanted to ask about the potential public safety tax that's coming down. The city has the authority to do a 1 cent or a 1 cent public safety tax. Is that happening soon? And can you talk about that tax, which is very regressive and would not be progressive like the B&O tax?
Yeah, it sort of was couched in my other question to Dave. That is that it's being considered. It's on the table for discussion, but because we understand the regressive nature of it, we are treading very carefully. Again, this is one component of how we're addressing our deficit and Trump-proofing our Seattle for potential federal cuts. But we're in discussions, Erica. That's all I can really say at this point.
All right. I think we're
Okay.
good.
Okay, I'll close this out with this. 2 words. Thank you. Thank you very much for fighting the fight. We haven't won anything yet. We're going to win something here moving forward. But this is good policy, and it's the right thing to do. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much. Everyone have a great day.